It's so nice to meet you, Jenna.
Yeah, it's lovely
I don't know
to
if
meet
have you
Lucy.
heard of Bounce Forward?
I've heard of them, but I'm not 100% sure what Bounce Forward do.
So we are a national charity and we specialise in building psychological fitness. So for us, psychological fitness is an umbrella term that is about mental resilience and emotional well-being, and we provide teaching resources to schools because we want it to be taught in all children to be taught in school once a week. We do training for teachers, and then we also do stuff in the workplace as well. So
That sounds really interesting.
What about you?
So the Firefly Project provides grief education for children, young people and those who care for them. The idea is to create a more compassionate world where no one has to feel alone in their grief by giving people the tools and support that they need to be able to navigate life's difficulties.
One of the competencies that we have, so in our framework, we have a set of skills, and then the theory is, the sort of theory of change, if you like, is that if you teach those skills and you start to use them in your everyday situations and you sort of master them, you develop these competencies, and one of the competencies is self-awareness and compassion. Because it's so true, like, in today's world, we just need to care more about other people and... but from a really, from a real sort of empathic, there's sympathy, which is less helpful sometimes, but to really be able to stand in the shoes of other people and to feel what they're feeling, even if you don't know what that, their particular situation is, but at least to have that shared moment of, wow, like that. So it's interesting that we have that common,
Like you say, people need to care more about others. I think many of us need to care more about ourselves as well.
Yeah, really, especially as founders or CEOs of small charities, we definitely need to look after ourselves a lot. How come? What led you to it then? How did you get involved?
So for me, it's quite personal. My mum died when I was 22, and for years and years and years I felt completely broken. It was probably about 10 years, and then I started volunteering with a children's bereavement charity who created the world's first grief game, like an app for children to help them navigate those feelings. And I was working at the BBC as a designer at the time, and I wanted to get more into designing games for kids, and it had a personal connection, so I thought that would be great.
Back in the day, I used to work with children in the looked after system, and they'd basically been let down by every adult around them. And the first thing I used to work with them on a one-to-one basis, and the first thing I used to talk to them was about their strengths. And they would say, I haven't got any strengths. They could tell me really passionately like what all their weaknesses were and what they were bad at, and all of this stuff. And I used to say to them, but let's just stop for a minute and think about what your strengths are, because that, I don't know, like the richness of their experience, even though it was a really tough experience, and they probably never even thought about it as a strength, but what other people can learn from, the really dark moments that we have, to me, is what being a human being is all about, But it's difficult because it comes with a load of emotion, even when you sit literally I could feel, it's sad, like it's really sad, isn't it? But being able to use that strength to drive you on to do something which is going to make such a difference to other people, I just think is so powerful. Yeah,
I mean, it's been quite a journey to get here, but every time I kind of reflect back on the reasons why I'm doing it, it's quite emotional for me, so But what got you into?
That idea of learning from our faith, it's where you have the real learning moments, isn't it? Like when you truly, it's horrible because you're often in a deep hole and you feel alone, and you don't, you haven't necessarily got the words to express how you're feeling. And for me, it was a moment, because I always felt like a failure, like I always felt like I didn't have a voice. I always felt, I've always been like ballsy and brave, but I didn't really feel like I had a sort of purpose, I suppose. And it was the thing that then I thought, do you know what, I want to learn more about that. And it just coincided with a project that we were doing at the local authority about well-being. I'm talking about 2005 here. We hadn't even heard of this thing called well-being, And it brought the Penn Resilience Programme for the University of Pennsylvania over from America. So it was a lot about positive psychology, about self-efficacy, self-belief, all of that stuff. And I just got really fascinated in it, because I'm a natural pessimist. I come from a long line of pessimists, And so actually starting at things from a strength-based position, what do we do well and how can we do more of that? It just was really fascinating to me. And so that's really where the journey started to sort of set up Bounce Forward.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned about positive psychology, because some of the research that I've done when I was looking at how we can help young people build resilience, especially when they're dealing with challenging circumstances, maybe a bereavement or, their parents splitting up. And I kind of ended up in this rabbit hole about researching about positive childhood experiences and how they can kind of balance with adverse childhood experiences, almost like a seesaw, to help build up that resilience. And things like how self-efficacy or belief in yourself or something bigger than you, things like trusted adults and awareness of your own emotions can help to build up these kind of positive factors that can prevent you from really struggling when things get difficult. So yeah, it's really interesting that our work it feels like it's got so much alignment.
It always brings me such energy when I think about the people that Big Change brings together. I mean, obviously the funding is one thing, and it's great having, as a leader of a charity man, I wish we had, we could have a new Big Change every month or something, because Bounce Forward really struggles for money, financial security, but it's that sense of that there is another group of people who are all with this overall sort of shared passion for having a commitment to young people. And for me, it's always brings me such energy when I think about, being part of the community. And I've always been really grateful for being part of something that's more than just what you're trying to do.
So it's been a long journey. I'm typically one of those people that will just keep going and keep going and keep going, who really struggles to say no, but I've had to really work on that, because I know that if I don't, then the Firefly Project just wouldn't be able to exist. So we had a big launch at the start of the year with Voice 21.
Oh yeah.
A piece, like a resource that was going out to all of the Voice 21 schools. And we were meant to be doing like a live talk about it on their Talk on Tuesdays, and I couldn't be there. I watched my team and I was like so happy and proud of them to see how they had done that, but it was really difficult kind of watching from the sidelines.
Yeah.
So there was obviously that learning, in that if I don't need to do everything, which I think has also helped me take this month off, because I don't need to be everything and I don't need to do everything, because my team have got this. And the other learning around taking that step back from delivery was actually, it kind of reconnected me actually with why we do the work that we do, because I was going through a really challenging time, and being able to actually talk to my team about what was going on and being able to take that step back made me realise that we have created this very grief-informed community that allowed people to just show up as they are and to be able to ask for what they needed, to be able to feel supported, which allowed me to carry on in a different capacity, but it allowed me to carry on nonetheless. And it just made me realise why the work that we do is so important, and why schools need to be grief-informed, so that young people and teachers can carry on when, like with the support that they need.
And my penny drop moment was like the central theme around Big Change, because Big Change have been like a part of Bounce Forward's journey for, from the beginning really. And there's been moments when I've been more involved and less involved for various different reasons. And it's really interesting that I think the one thing that it does do, like for me, is just offer that space to just talk about stuff that isn't necessarily a thing. Like, am I making any sense? Do you know what I mean? Like when you get like these ups and downs, really difficult things, and then you sort of come into a group of people who, everybody knows how tough it is and how difficult it is to get things going, and you sort of got this space to be able to, just talk about some of it. I think was just a bit of a moment when you were saying that, because I've got lots of like big things that I could talk about of, difficult times for Bounce Forward, and because we're a small organisation, the personal things that happen around the edges are always a significant part of it, because you're a small team. But, what are the things that are the moments that sort of keep you going and, you can sort of get hold of and feel proud of? When you said, you felt sat on the sidelines and felt proud of your team for being able to, deliver a good job, and they could do it without you, and it wasn't all going to fall apart type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that felt like a really big achievement. I mean, that piece of work was a big achievement for us as well, because it got our work or that resource out to so many more schools, by partnering so many more schools than we have access to.
And do you think that wouldn't have come about had you not been part of the big...
Oh, no, it wouldn't. I don't think it would have happened, because we got the introduction through Big Change.
Yeah. So if you had a magic wand then, like looking into the future, what would it look like for it to...
Oh, now you're asking.
No, but it's true, in order to carry on doing this, you have to have an idea or a vision or a hope for the future, don't you? Because otherwise we would just give up. What would be the point? I mean, some weeks I do feel like giving up. But yeah.
I think for me the hope is that more schools and communities and just society will become more grief informed, that young people know that it's okay to have these conversations, to talk to one another, to talk to adults about how they're feeling, and be able to have the words to express themselves, know that support is available and where to find it. And I think within schools in particular, that they hold space for people to feel there are so many different challenges in life. Bereavement is one of them, but when we talk about grief, we talk about it more broadly. So things like what's going on in the world and how they're feeling about what's going on in the world, and to hold space for those difficult and challenging life circumstances, so that they can feel seen and heard in their experience. So I think that's definitely the hope that I have, is that we can make space for the stuff that is difficult, but also the stuff that's positive, the stuff where, as I said earlier, where grief and joy can coexist. And I just hope to have more of those safe spaces in schools. How about yourself?
I mean, I just want to shift the narrative around. I want us to stop talking about mental health. I want us, it's such a medical model, mental health is a deficit. We're trying to find problems and to then fix them. And I just think, like you said, life is tough. Life is wonderful and full of opportunity. And let's face it, we only have one go at it, right? So, but to me, to come at, if you think about your physical fitness, we go to the gym to strengthen our muscles, to become more agile, more flexible, stronger. And yet when it comes to mental health, we wait until there's a problem, and then we come at it from a very, medical model. It's a disease and we need to cure the disease. Whereas psychological fitness is about, nurturing those mental muscles, your optimistic muscle, to be able to become flexible in the way that you see the world. But it's such a narrative shift. So really, we've, we on a day-to-day basis, I would love to see Bounce Forward lessons taught to every child in the country. That would be my, one aim. It actually wouldn't cost that much money to do it. About £280,000 a year, we could get Bounce Forward lessons into every school in the country. Given we spend about £300 billion on the mental ill health problem, it's not a lot of money.
No.
But so on the one level, my dream would be to every child to be taught it. But on a sort of, I just hope that the small conversations that you can have, because I think that's where the big change does happen, in the moments and in the relationships and all of that. But that we can just stop talking about mental health as an illness and start talking about psychological well-being and what it means to be a human being. And some moments we need that space to be able to talk about the big difficult things that happen, and then we also need the moments to be able to really celebrate the joy. And and as you say, those two things are connected. And then we need to get on with the day job, and we need to carry on performing and doing the things we do, you know, in order to be able to keep the world running, right? So, so my, you know, my hope for the future is that you can just start to make those big changes in the small conversations that you have. So we work a lot with parents at the moment. You know, the work that we do with schools is still important, but I sort of, my hope lies in parents, because if we can shift the narrative with parents and they can start to be building psychological fitness in their children at home and encouraging the schools to do it, that might be another way of coming at it, you know.
That really resonates with me around psychological fitness, because I think you're absolutely right with mental well-being. I think we're almost complacent about it until either something goes wrong or we're not feeling ourselves, and it's almost like we can't catch it in time. Whereas if it was these small moments that were integrated into our everyday life that helped keep building upon that, then we're less likely to get to that point, even no matter what life throws at us, because life will just keep lifing.
Yeah.
And it's some days are really difficult, but if you've got that psychological fitness kind of built in, you know, you're better equipped to be able to respond to it.
Well, and I think you almost move from your whole day being bad to that half an hour being bad, you know. And I don't even like the word bad, because, you know, if we have emotions that we need to express them, and we need this space to be. So I don't even like calling it good and bad, but, you know, you have these moments where, you know, you're deeply sad or deeply angry or deeply, you know, guilty about something, and that's okay, because the next half an hour is not going to be like that, because I've got the skills and the strategies to be able. And that's the thing for me, the shift from, you know, having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month to, that was a difficult moment, but it needed to be a difficult moment because this is what's going on, and that's okay, and now I'm going to move on.